The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Wish the Prime Minister and his family a happy Thanksgiving. However, it won't be too happy for a lot of people whose costs have gone out of control. In fact, the cost of turkey is up 16%. According to one food professor, cost of other items are up over 20%, and 1/5 of Canadians will have to reduce what they put on the plate this Thanksgiving weekend. How much will the Prime Minister's tripling of the tax on our farmers, truckers, and consumers increase the cost of Thanksgiving dinner for the future?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
We know Canadians across the country are struggling with the global inflation crisis, and that's why we're moving forward with concrete measures to help out. After we proposed a GST rebate that's going to help significant numbers of families across this country, the Leader of the Opposition came out criticizing it, but then fortunately reversed himself and is now supporting our GST credit. Will he now support the low-income dental supports for families? Will he support the rental supports we're giving? Kids deserve to have happy smiles. Why won't the Leader of the Opposition help them with that?
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, they won't be smiling if their parents can't afford a little bit of pumpkin pie for them at Thanksgiving dinner. Look at the cost increases that have happened. 16% increase for the cost of turkey, 22% increase for potatoes, bread up 13%, butter 13%, cranberries 12%, bacon 10%. That all adds up to an unaffordable Thanksgiving dinner. The Prime Minister wants to make it worse still by tripling his tax on our farmers, our truckers, and ultimately our consumers. How much will that add to the cost of Thanksgiving?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, he wants to help Canadians, but he will not stand with low-income Canadians who want to give their kids better smiles. But there is another important issue that is on Canadians' minds, particularly Canadians' women's minds as we meet here. If it were not for global news, we would not have learned that the Conservative leader has been purposefully using his videos to appeal to far-right misogynistic online movements. These are anti-women movements, and they have had devastating real-life consequences. Mr. Speaker, I call on the Conservative leader to stand in this House, take responsibility, and apologize.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
I condemn this organization, and I corrected the problem as soon as it became known to me, Mr. Speaker. But I condemn all forms of misogyny, including when the Prime Minister fired the very first female Indigenous Attorney General. When he mistreated minority young women in his own caucus who had to leave politics, and I condemn him for when he dressed up in racist costumes so many times he forgot them all. We condemn it always, Mr. Speaker.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the choice made by the Conservative leader in reaching out to extremist online groups into, pulling in anti-women, misogynistic groups for his own political gain is one that he will have to answer for. I think women across this country want to know why he allowed this to happen and want to see him take responsibility for it.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
I took responsibility and corrected it as soon as it became known to me. But the Prime Minister does not take responsibility for the extremism that he has funded. He funded a vicious anti-Semite to spread hatred online with taxpayers' dollars. He repeatedly, in fact so many times he can't even keep track, dressed up in racist costumes for which he has not ever come fully to account. And he drove many women of his own caucus out of the party and out of Parliament altogether with his mistreatment of them. We condemn all of that behavior. We condemn misogyny always and everywhere, and we ask the Prime Minister to finally do the same.
Speaker, we have all seen the effective campaign that the Leader of the Opposition ran to become leader, using online videos, using ways of reaching out through social media. We all marveled at his admiration of old wood. What we didn't see was that every time he put out the...
Are we done? Prime Minister, from the top, please.
Mr. Speaker, a lot of ink was spilled and a lot of admiration for the effectiveness of the Leader of the Opposition's campaign to become leader, using social media, using clever videos. We all marveled at his admiration for old wood. But what we didn't see, Mr. Speaker, was his choice to include deliberate reaches out to far-right organizations, including hateful anti-women organizations, to try and advance his own political gains. He has played too close to the line with extremists for too long. Now he's got caught. Will he admit it? Will he apologize? Will he take responsibility?
The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker. The honourable member. I'd like to know what the Prime Minister's intentions are at Roxam Road, increasing the number of immigrants without the approval of Quebec, giving favour to contracts to Liberal members, and given the labour shortage, while we're entering workers who are vulnerable, who do not speak French, and who we won't give a work permit to for over a year. Do we understand that there's nothing at all humanitarian about the Prime Minister's policy at Roxam Road? The Right Honourable Prime Minister, we all know that immigration is essential to our economy. Like the member knows already, Quebec establishes its own immigration targets. Last year, we welcomed more than 50,000 new permanent residents in Quebec, and therefore we're always going to work closely with Quebec's government to welcome immigrants, to ensure economic growth, and to ensure that the wealth of French language and Quebec culture continues. The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly, I will continue to denounce these policies that favour cheap labour. And rather than spending $500 million to hire immigration civil servants, we're putting them into infrastructure and contracts, an amount to Liberal Party donators. Can the Prime Minister order the immediate tabling of unredacted contracts for Roxam Road since 2017? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Bloc continues to claim for more power for Quebec in immigration, but the reality is that Quebec already has enormous power with respect to immigration. Any other country, province. The reality, Mr. Speaker, is that they could welcome many more immigrants than they're already doing, and they could ensure that they all speak French. They have all sorts of powers, and we are here to work with them to continue to enrich the Quebec nation and Canada as a whole with immigration and through the defense of French and with economic growth for everyone. The honourable member for Rosemont-le-Petit